Hello everyone, welcome to free crash course for competitive exams held by VIRAT Hindustan Sangham in association with Manifest IAS. So this program is inspired by Dr. SWAMY and it was started on 28th of January. So you can watch this program online on the YouTube channel of VIRAT Hindustan Sangham as well as the YouTube channel of UDAYA News Karnataka. So this program is convened by Sri Ravishankar sir, State Education Convener for VIRAT Hindustan Sangham Karnataka branch and also President of Good Neighbors India NGO. So I am the Chief Mentor of your program, DHANUSH Kumar, and I have been mentoring civil service aspirants for past 5 years. Okay, so we have started with polity and which is completed, and now we are negotiating history, and next we will take up economy. Okay. So you can join our Telegram channel VHS Education Forum. You can join our Telegram channel VHS Education Forum. So also by clicking this link and also scanning this QR code. Okay. So what to expect out of these classes for freshers and veterans? Freshers can use this program to get a hold or gist of the syllabus and the concepts which they are supposed to study to clear various exams. However, the veterans, senior aspirants can use this program as a refresher course, as a revision course. Fine. So here is the what I am supposed to do. So today is the 4th day of the class and your source for history is Brief History for Modern India by Spectrum Publications. This is your source. Okay. So yesterday we have spoken till Swami Vivekananda. So today we are going to start up with Swami Dayananda Saraswati and Arya Samaj. So this is the general survey of reform movements. What reform movements? Socio-religious reform movements of the 19th century. We are taking a general survey. Okay, the leader is here Dayananda Saraswati and Arya Samaj. So this is a Arya Samaj. It is a revivalist movement. What do you mean by revivalist movement? So Brahma Samaj was a reformist movement. Reform means whatever the ills in the society or dogmas in the religion, that is ಧರ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇ ಒಂದು ನ್ಯೂನ್ಯತೆಗಳಿದ್ರು ಅದನ್ನ ಸರಿಪಡಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ this Brahma Samaj tried, whereas Arya Samaj tried to bring the old time religion, that is the time of Vedas. ವೇದಗಳ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಧರ್ಮ ಇತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನ ಮರು ಪ್ರತಿಷ್ಠಾಪನೆ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ the Arya Samaj tried. Arya Samaj tried. Okay. So Dayananda Saraswati was born as Mulshankar. His initial name is Mulshankar. He was born in a Brahmin family. So he wandered as an ascetic. Ascetic means like a monk for 15 years. Later on, he set up the Arya Samaj in Bombay in 1875. Okay. So his work. So Dayananda Saraswati's famous work is Satyartha Prakash. Satyartha Prakash is the famous work of Swami Dayananda Saraswati. So he envisaged a casteless and classless society. So there should be no caste, no discrimination based on caste, and classless, no upper class, no middle class, no lower class. All classes are equal. So that kind of a society was dreamt by Swami Dayananda Saraswati. So he also dreamt of a India free from foreign rule. He was against the British. Okay. So he gave a call called back to Vedas. Back to what the Vedas means what? So we have to go back to the Vedas in order to rejuvenate our present society. So he called the Vedas as the India's rocks of ages. India's rocks of ages means so they have stood the test of the times. ಪ್ರತಿ ಒಂದು ತಲೆಮಾರಿನಲ್ಲೂ ವೇದಗಳು ಉಪಯೋಗಕರವಾಗಿದ್ವು ಅಂತ ದಯಾನಂದ ಸರಸ್ವತಿ ಅವರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಹಿ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ರಿವೈವ್ ದ ವೇದಿಕ್ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವೇದಿಕ್ ಪ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ವೇದಗಳ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ದ ಪ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ, ಪ್ಯೂರ್ ರಿಲಿಜನ್ ಆರ್ ಪ್ಯೂರ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಹಿ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. Okay. So his teacher was a blind teacher. Dayananda Saraswati's teacher was a blind teacher and his name was Swami Virajananda. Virajananda is the teacher. Okay. So he emphasized on individual interpretation of scriptures. Scriptures was earlier interpreted by the priests, middleman between God and citizens. So he said that each individual can interpret the religion, scriptures, ಧರ್ಮ ಗ್ರಂಥಗಳನ್ನ ಸ್ವತಃ ತಾವೇ ಓದಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬಹುದು. ಯಾರ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಮಧ್ಯವರ್ತಿಗಳ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. Who tells? It is told by Swami Dayananda Saraswati. Okay, he said every person has right to access to God. Poor, rich or small, lower caste, upper caste, everybody can access the God. So he actually criticized the Maya philosophy. So Maya philosophy given by whom? So Maya philosophy given by Shankaracharya. He said it is not Maya. So Maya is not there. Everything is real. Everything is real. So he said, God, soul and matter. God, soul, Purush, Prakriti and what? Pashupati, Purush and Prakriti. So these three things, God, individual soul and environment, all are different entities. Only by working towards moksha one can attain moksha. So this was said by him. And also he laid emphasis on niyati. Niyati means destiny. He believed in destiny. Okay. So he also believed in karma and reincarnation. So he actually criticized the Hindu orthodoxy. Hindu orthodoxy means Sanatanis who were believing in sati and various other degraded systems. So those people were criticized by Dayananda Saraswati. So he actually opposed caste system, untouchability, idolatry, polytheism. Polytheism means multiple god, idolatry, image worship. All these things he opposed. So, but he did not oppose the Varna system. Chaturvarna system, he did not oppose. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, that he did not oppose, whereas caste system he opposed. So Varna system and caste system are totally different. Caste system originated out of Varna system. It is a kind of origination. So what are the 10 principles? So what are the 10 principles of Arya Samaj? Arya Samaj says God is the primary source of all knowledge. He says Arya Samaj principle is God is the primary source of all knowledge. And also it says Vedas are the books of true knowledge. It laid emphasis on Vedas. Next, he says the Arya Samaj says Dharma should be the guiding principle. Dharma. So in every action, Dharma should guide us. Okay, that is the one of the principle. So he also it says everybody should be treated with love and justice. Every person should be treated with love and justice. So this was also said by whom? Arya Samaj. So these are some of the principles out of the total 10 principles of Arya Samaj. You need not by heart it. You can just know the gist. Okay. So he says God is the father of everyone and humans should act among themselves like brothers and sisters. That was proposed by whom? Dayananda Saraswati. Okay. So after Dayananda Saraswati, they start what? The followers of Dayananda Saraswati start Dayananda Anglo Vedic College, DAV College. Today DAV institutions are there. That was started by the followers of Dayananda Saraswati. So this DAV institution got divided into two parties later on because of internal discord. They fight among themselves and it gets divided into two things. One is called college party. Another party is called, okay. So one party is called college party. So college party leaders were Lala Lajpat Rai and other persons called Lala Lajpat Rai, and even your Swami Shraddhanand and Lala Lajpat Rai were members of what party? College party. So that was one of the organization of DAV. So along with that there is another party called Mahatma Party. Another party. It was headed by Swami Shraddhanand. Swami Shraddhanand. So he was Swami Shraddhanand headed the Mahatma Party. College party was headed by Lala Lajpat Rai. So there was internal discord among them. Okay. So this Mahatma Party started this Arya Pratinidhi Sabha. It started Arya Pratinidhi Sabha and also Gurukul at Kangri, Haridwar. So if you go visit the Haridwar, you find Kangri Gurukul. That Gurukul was built by Swami Shraddhanand of the Mahatma Party, two parties. So of the DAV. Okay, the two party names are important. So this Arya Samaj was able to give self-respect and self-confidence to Indians. Why self-respect and self-confidence? Because it emphasized on Indianness, Indian culture. It respected Indian culture. That is how it was able to give self-respect and self-confidence to Indians. So Indians lack self-confidence because British told you are a inferior race. You are not equal to us. So they were subjugated. They felt very low about themselves. Whereas this Arya Samaj, what it did, it reinvented the Vedas and laid emphasis on Indian culture, and it said it gave what did it give? It gave self-respect to Indians. Indians felt themselves with self-respect. Okay. So because of this Arya Samaj, there were some issues also. So Hindu-Muslim issues started because of Arya Samaj, because Arya Samaj started reconverting Christians and Islam. Islam ಮತ್ತೆ Christian ಗೆ convert ಆಗಿದ್ದವರನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ Hinduism ಗೆ ತರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ Arya Samaj ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡ್ತು. So there was communalism was there during that time. Okay, this is all about Dayananda Saraswati and sorry, Arya Samaj. Next, Seva Sadan. Seva Sadan was started by Behramji Malbari. Okay. So this, what did it focus on? It focused on child marriage and widow remarriage. It focused on child marriage, against child marriage and widow, and it was for widow remarriage. So these two things, mainly women related issues. It worked for age of consent act. What is this age of consent act? At what age a woman can be legally married? So this was worked in this direction. The Seva Sadan worked. Okay. So next we have so there are Dev Samaj is there. Dev Samaj was founded by Narayana Agnihotri, Shiv Narayana Agnihotri. Not very important. Next, Dharma Sabha is there. Dharma Sabha was founded by Radhakant Dev. It is a orthodox organization. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪಾರಂಪರಿಕವಾದಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಂಘಟನೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಿಂದೂ ಧರ್ಮ, ಸನಾತನ ಹಿಂದೂ ಧರ್ಮವನ್ನ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಂಘಟನೆ ಧರ್ಮ ಸಭಾ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಭಾರತ್ ಧರ್ಮ ಮಹಾಮಂಡಲ. ಭಾರತ್ ಧರ್ಮ ಮಹಾಮಂಡಲ. So this organization was started as opposite to Arya Samajists. So what these Arya Samajists used to do, they actually attacked Hindu orthodoxy, priests and all, they attacked. So they did not believe in caste system. So against this, in order to establish Sanatana Dharma, so orthodox society, ಪಾರಂಪರಿಕವಾದಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಂಘಟನೆ, what is it? Bharata Dharma Mahamandala. So it was started by whom? It was started by, so here Bharat Dharma Mahamandala was headquartered in Varanasi. It was started by a group of educated Hindus. Start this Bharat Dharma Mahamandala against Arya Samaj. So it was headquartered in Varanasi. One of the famous persons of Bharat Dharma Mahamandala is Madan Mohan Malaviya. Madan Mohan Malaviya is one of the famous persons of Bharat Dharma Mahamandala. Okay. So next we have Radha Swami movement is there, not very important. We have Sri Narayan Guru Dharma Paripalana movement, SNDP. So SNDP, what happens? Narayan Guru is a person from Kerala. He what does he do? He belongs to the Elava caste. Elava caste is a caste of toddy tappers. Toddy tappers means, what do you mean by toddy tappers? So ಸೇಂದಿ ಇಳಿಸೋರು ಅಂತ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. He belonged to that caste. So it is a low caste, untouchable caste. So what he does, he starts this Arivipuram movement. Arivipuram movement, what does he do? So earlier only Brahmins were allowed to install images of God or idols of God. Idols of God was earlier installed by only Brahmins. However, this Sri Narayana Guru, what does he do? He belonging to lower caste, he also goes and installs a Shivalinga. So the upper caste opposes him. So in this direction, his supporter was Kumaran Asan. Kumaran Asan is one of his supporter. Okay, so they start SNDP. SNDP, Arivipuram Sri Narayana Guru Dharma Paripalana Yogam. It is an organization started in 1903. Okay, so it emphasized on one religion, one caste, and one race for humanity. Okay, so it also emphasized on educating the lower caste, and also recruitment into government service. Lower caste should get entry, and also the temple entry. Lower caste were not allowed to enter the temples, so it emphasized on temple entry. So this was some of the changes by Narayana Guru. Okay, next we have justice movement and self-respect movement. Justice movement, this was started by C.N. Mudaliar. Why this was started in Madras by C.N. Mudaliar? For non-Brahmin caste people to get government service. Okay, next, self-respect movement. Who starts this? E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, Periyar. He also called as Periyar. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar starts this self-respect movement in Tamil Nadu. So because this Brahmin priest were exploiting the lower caste, were discriminating against the lower caste, because of which our Periyar starts self-respect movement. Next, temple entry movement. Temple entry movement starts in Kerala. So I said lower caste were not allowed to enter temples. Lower caste were not allowed to enter temples. Against this, I already Narayan Guru and Kumaran Asan had done their work in Kerala. So now comes T.K. Madhavan. T.K. Madhavan takes up this issue in Travancore. T.K. Madhavan and also K.P. Keshava. So what they do, in 1924 they start Vaikom Satyagraha. Very, very important. So Vaikom Satyagraha was started by K.P. Keshava and T.K. Madhavan. Even Gandhiji supports this temple entry movement in Kerala. Okay. So later, because of this movement, the Maharaja of Travancore opens the temple for all caste. Because of this movement, the temples were open for all caste. Okay, next we have, so one more organization is there, Indian Social Conference. It was an organ of Indian National Congress. It aimed at social reforms. Samajika Parivartanena Madlike Indian Social Conference tried. Okay, next we will look at some reformist movements among the Muslim community, starting from here until here, totally 5. Wahhabi Waliullah movement. Wahhabi and Waliullah movement. So who were the inspirations? The inspiration for this movement was Abdul Wahhab of Saudi Arabia, and also Shah Waliullah. These two people were the inspiration for your Wahhabi Waliullah movement. Okay, so the most important person here is Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi, inspired by Abdul Wahhab and Shah Waliullah. Inspired by both these, your Barelvi. Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi starts the Wahhabi movement. So what do they aim for? They aim for Muslims were divided into 4 schools. 4, like Indian in our Hinduism caste system, Muslims were divided into 4 schools: Sufi, Shias, Sunnis, and all those. So it tried to bring all of them together. Okay. So it also emphasized on conscience, individual conscience, thinking for themselves, That was also emphasized. So religion is there. Religion was interpreted based on one's own interpretations. Okay. So this movement was popularized by whom? Popularized by Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi. So what do they try to establish? Just like Arya Samaj, they try to, it is a revivalist movement. They try to bring back the ancient Islamic religion during the time of Prophet Muhammad. What was the religion was there? That needs to be re-established. Was the aim of this movement. Okay. So they start 2 movements. So they wanted to convert India into Darul Harab to Darul Islam. Means Darul Arab means HARB, not ARAB. HARB means it is a territory of Kafirs. So which includes many religions. It should be converted into completely Islamic religion. This was started by whom? Started by the Wahhabi movement. Okay, next we have what? Farzai movement. So Titu Mir's movement is also there. Titu Mir I discussed in what? In the civil uprising. So next we have Farzai movement. Farzai movement was started by Haji Shariatullah. Why did it start? It wanted to oppose un-Islamic practices. In Islam, there were practices which were not allowed in the Islam. That practices need to be stopped. What are those practices? So some practices like education, where all those things were opposed. Like in Islam, drawing images and sculptures were opposed. So those kind of practices were tried to be stopped. Next, after Haji Shariatullah, his son Dadu Mian. Dadu Mian takes over. He takes over and he starts a paramilitary force against Hindu zamindars. Against them, they start a paramilitary force. Muslim peasants headed by Dadu Mian and Haji Shariatullah starts a paramilitary force against Hindu landlords. Okay. So next we have Ahmadiyya movement. So Ahmadiyya movement, your Constitutional Amendment Act, Citizenship Amendment Act, CAA. So one of the provisions was, one of the demand by the Muslim community was to allow the oppressed Ahmadiyyas in Pakistan to reside in India. So this was one of the demand by protesters. However, so it was not allowed. So what is this Ahmadiyya movement? So it is a liberal movement. It is not a revivalist movement. It is a reformist movement. So this movement was headed by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in 1889. So it was headed by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in 1889. Okay, so it is considered as Muslim Renaissance. Indian Renaissance was started by whom? By Brahma Samaj. Muslim Renaissance by Ahmadiyya movement. It opposed jihad. Jihad was opposed. Jihad means Dharma Yuddha. So sacred war. That was opposed by Ahmadiyyas. So they also thought. So they were mystics. Mystics means mysticism. So Ahmadiyya movement suffered from mysticism. Mysticism means unnatural experiences. Like curing, having having supernatural experiences, supernatural, which is not normal to common human beings. So that was supported, and they considered Mirza Ghulam Ahmad as a messiah. Messiah I have discussed already yesterday. Next, most important, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan and Aligarh movement, most important. So what happens? 1857 revolt. Muslims blame, British blame the Muslims as the main culprits for the war. Main culprits for the war. Okay. However, they later think that this due to 1885 Indian National Congress starts. They think that Muslims can be used against the Hindus. They can be used against the Hindus. So this was allowed by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. So he is a member of judicial service. He used to be a judge. So he used to be a judge. So later on, what happens? So later on, what happens? So he actually supports the British. He supports the British against the Hindus. So okay. So he was a member of Imperial Legislative Council. I have discussed in polity 1854 Imperial Legislative Council comes into picture. Okay. So he wanted to reconcile Western and Eastern education. So he with Quran. So Western education, modern education, he wanted to imbibe in Quran. So Quran, he wanted to be reformed. So with Western education, that was his view. So he is a reformist. He is not a revivalist. Okay. So ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕುರಾನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ಕೆಲವು ಅಂಶಗಳನ್ನ ಹೊಸ ಕಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಳವಡಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಅವರು ಅದನ್ನ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ದೇ ಡಿಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್, ರಾದರ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಅ ನ್ಯೂ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ದ ಕುರಾನ್. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅಪೋಸ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ದೇ critical. Okay, 1 second. Okay. So they start this Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. Initially they start Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. This was later translated into Aligarh Muslim University. So Aligarh Muslim University, where Mohammed Anglo-Oriental College was later transformed into Aligarh Muslim University. However, they opposed Purda system among Muslims. Whatever today hijab issue is happening, it was actually opposed by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. So they advocated easy divorce. And they also advocated practical morality. So they emphasized the Muslims should be moral beings. It was emphasized by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. And also Sir Syed Ahmad Khan emphasized that Muslims should get education first. And take employment. Okay. So he was a tool by British. He was a tool used by British to oppose the Hindus. Okay. He starts one journal like a magazine. The journal name is Tahdhib-ul Akhlaq. Okay. So that can be asked in your prelims. Okay. So Aligarh movement is a liberal intellectual movement. Just like you can compare it with our Brahma Samaj. It is a liberal, modern movement among the Muslim educated. Okay, they wanted modern education, and they opposed this purda, polygamy, and all those things. They wanted to bring a socio-cultural reform and modern reforms to the Muslim community. Okay, next we have Deoband School. So Deoband School actually opposed Sir Syed Ahmad Khan's Aligarh movement. Aligarh movement was opposed by Deoband school. So Deoband school, it is a revivalist movement. So they wanted to revive the Islamic Quran times, like Prophet Muhammad time, whatever Islam was there, they wanted to bring back that time during the present times. So it is a orthodox section, okay, traditional people, okay. So they wanted to propagate the pure teaching of Quran, whatever the teachings are there, those should be those pure teachings should be propagated, okay. So they also advocated jihad. So they advocated jihad. Who? Deoband school advocated jihad, okay. So the most important persons on the Deoband school is Muhammad Qasim Nanatovi and Rashid Ahmad Gangohi. Muhammad Qasim Nanatovi. Okay. So they wanted moral and religious regeneration. So Muslims are there. They wanted to be, Deoband school said they should become moral beings, ನೀತಿ ಪರವಾಗಿರಬೇಕು, and religious ಧರ್ಮವನ್ನ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. Who told? Deoband school told it. Okay. So they also supported Indian National Congress. They were supporting Indian National Congress. However, Aligarh movement did not support Indian National Congress because it was used by British against the Indian National Congress. Okay. So, though it is a revivalist movement, it actually supported modern education. Deoband school, just like Aligarh movement, supported modern education among the Muslims. Next, we have Parsi reform movement. Parsi people. So, Oliver Ratan Tata and everyone. Okay. So, reformist movement among them. So, they were highly educated people. So, they wanted to restore. Their religion is called Zoroastrian religion. Parsi people religion is called Zoroastrian religion. They wanted to reform this religion. With purity. Okay. So who are the most important people? Dadabhai Nauroji, Furdonji, and all those people. And their newspaper name is Rast Goftar. Rastgoftar, Rast Goftar, also called Truth Teller. So they advocated removal of Purda system. Next, reform movements among the Sikh population. Sikhs. So what are the reform movements among the Sikhs? We have Singh Sabha movement. The first reform movement is Singh Sabha movement. So what is the Singh Sabha movement? So it advocated modern education to Sikhs. And also it opposed Christian missionaries. Christian missionaries wanted to convert Sikhs into Christianity. It was also opposed. So it opposed Christian missionaries, Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, all these people. Okay. So they established Khalsa schools. Khalsa I have discussed already during discussing the discussing the post Guru Gobind Singh. So this Khalsa Dal gets established. So these Sikh reform movement, that is your Singh Sabha movement, establishes Khalsa schools in Punjab. Okay, next we have Akali movement. The second movement is Akali movement, Akali Dal. So today there is a political party, Akali Dal. So Akali movement was a offshoot. It is like a child of born out of Gurudwara reform movement. Akali movement was born out of Gurudwara reform movement. Okay. So it aimed at liberating the Sikh Gurudwaras. So Gurudwaras used to be under the control of Mahants. The people name is Mahants. M-A-H-A-N-T-S. Mahants. So these Mahants were very corrupt people. So these Gurudwaras, okay. So they wanted to liberate. They wanted to take the Gurudwaras back from Mahants. Okay. back from Mahants. Because of their effort, the British government establishes Gurudwara, Sikh Gurudwaras Act 1922. So Sikh Gurudwaras Act 1922, from Mahants it goes to, control goes to Akalis of the Gurudwaras. Okay. So we have Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee. So it was from Mahants, it goes to SGBC, Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee. Okay. Next we have the Theosophical movement. Theosophical movement. So these are majorly Western people. So Western people who studied Indian culture. We have Madam H.P. Blavatsky. Madam H.P. Blavatsky, Colonial M.S. Alcott. Madam H.P. Blavatsky and Colonel M.S. Alcott, who started this Theosophical movement. It was headquartered at Adyar in Chennai. That is where it was headquartered. What did it do? It tried to think about various things, philosophical aspects like soul, Atma, God, and it emphasized on prayer. It emphasized on prayer. So it also accepted reincarnation, rebirth. Rebirth was accepted, and also it accepted the karma doctrine. Karma doctrine was accepted. That is, whatever karma you do, you are going to reap the benefits or the benefits or the punishment. Okay. So it also advocated equality. So this Theosophical movement was also a part of Hindu Renaissance, Hindu Reform movement. So later Annie Besant becomes the president of Theosophical Society, and she establishes Banaras Hindu University. Annie Besant establishes Banaras Hindu University in 1916, where Varanasi. Okay, so this Theosophical movement was majorly followed by educated Indians. Normal people could not understand the Theosophical concept. Okay, so next we will talk about the significance of reform movements. What are the significance? Positive aspects. What are the positive aspects? So it aimed at socio-religious reform, samajika dharmika parivartane, and these reforms were opposed by the orthodox section, paramparika vyaktigalu or samskrutiyana namtakanta vyaktigalu. They opposed this reform movement. Okay, so Sanatanis opposed by these were opposing these reform movements. Okay, so these movements opposed the exploitation by priests. The priests were exploiting the public. That was opposed, and they taught in vernacular language. They taught the message in vernacular, local language, so that people can easily understand. So they also were intellectuals. These people were also intellectuals like Buddhijivigalu. Okay, so they wanted to reform the religion. Okay, so it actually changed the notion of pollution and purity. Earlier, the upper caste were called as pure people, lower caste polluted people. So this notion was changed. And also said that everyone was equal. And also these movements laid emphasis on this word, no Swarga and Narka. You have to focus on this present world. Okay. So they changed the cultural field as well. Women reforms were brought about. Women education was brought about. Widow remarriage was brought about, and also the child marriage was considerably reduced, and also sati system was abolished. Everything was because of this socio-religious reform movements. Okay. Next, we have what are the negative aspects. Negative aspects. So, it did not reach the masses. It did not reach the masses. So, it was confined to the only to the educated people. Educated people. Okay. So, it also created rift. Created hatred between the upper caste and lower caste. This reform movements at sometimes created rift between upper caste and lower caste. Okay, so here these reform movements also created rift between Hindus and Muslims. So Hindus used to think ancient India was Hindu period, medieval India, that is your Delhi Sultanate, and Mughals were Muslim period. So it communalized the situation. It communalized. ಕೋಮುವಾದವನ್ನ ಬಿತ್ತಿತು these reform movements, because of which especially Arya Samaj and your Deoband and all those Wahhabi movement, it encouraged communalism. It encouraged communalism. Okay, communalism means komuvada. Okay, so these are some of the negative aspects of these reform movements. Okay. Next, we will talk about the beginning of modern nationalism in India. ಆಧುನಿಕ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯತೆ ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಹುಟ್ಟಿತು? So the concept of nationalism ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯತೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದು 19th centuryಯಲ್ಲಿ. It came in 19th century. Okay, so here this nationalism, the earlier what used to happen, people did not think themselves as a one nation. Earlier they did not think themselves as a one nation. Later they realized because of nationalism they came to understand that they belong to one single nation. They belong to one single, all kind of people, they belong to one single nation despite class, caste, language, race, any other differences. Okay. So, what are the factors responsible for growth of modern nationalism in India? Why did Adhunika Rashtriyate, modern nationalism, grow in India? So, here understanding the conflict of interest. So the people realized that their economic backwardness, ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಹಿಂದುಳಿಯುವಿಕೆ, it was because of British rule. ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಆಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ we are economically backward. So economically backward ಅಂತ people realized. So the artisans, handicraft, ಗುಡಿ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕೆ ಮಾಡೋರು, ರೈತರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಈ ಅಂಶಗಳನ್ನ ಅರಿತುಕೊಂಡ್ರು. That is the one of the reason of why they understand the conflict of interest. They understood our interest, that is Indians' interest are not as same as the British interest. Okay. Next we have also we have the unification of country. British rule brought about unification of country. Earlier India was divided into multiple kingdoms, whereas British rule, what it do, it brought entire India into one single rule, because of which this British rule provided a professional civil service. Civil service means Nagarika Seve, that is government service. Because of British, uniform civil service was started, unified judiciary. So there was a proper judicial system. Earlier there was no proper judicial system, and laws were codified. ಕಾನೂನುಗಳನ್ನ ನೀಟಾಗಿ ಬರೆದಿಟ್ರು. Because of all this, India was thought, the notion of India as one country started. So because of this, what happened, the people started thinking themselves as one country because of unification of country. What are the unification? Political unification, administrative unification, and economic unification. Because of all things, ಆರ್ಥಿಕವಾಗಿ ಭಾರತವನ್ನ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ, ಆಡಳಿತವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರವನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ರಾಜಕೀಯವಾಗಿ ಇಡೀ ಭಾರತ ಹರಿದು ಹಂಚು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಂತ ಭಾರತನ they made it into one country. So because of this, people started thinking themselves as part of one country, one single country. So that is also reason for the start of modern nationalism. Okay, so economic unification. What is economic unification? So entire India, if crops were grown in Bengal, they were sold in Karnataka. So some crop grown in Kerala was sold in Rajasthan. So if there is a drought ಬರಗಾಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಕ್ ಶುರು ಆಯ್ತು. ಸೊ ಬೇರೆ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ಬರಗಾಲ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರವಾಹ ಆದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆ ಅದು ಅಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಕ್ಕಾಯ್ತು. ಏನಕ್ಕಾಯ್ತು? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಇಂಟು ಒನ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ದೇ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದಿಸ್, ಇದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ದೇ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಶನ್, railways, roadways, everything they started, because of which India was transformed into one single country. Along with that, we have Western thought and education. So Indians were educated in Western thought. Western thought, liberalism, fraternity, liberalism, equality, all these things. And also, how did they get educated? They went to England to study. They saw the ground reality. Such a small country was ruling such a big country called India, right? So what they did? So they realized the ground reality, and they got educated in modern ideas. Liberty, equality, fraternity, all these ideas. They got educated. They wanted to liberate India from British rule. That is how the beginning of modern nationalism in India. Here, what is the role of press? So here we have many press. So the press was used as national service. Press was not used for profit or ads. It was used as a national service. So this press, this newspaper spread modern ideas like self-government, democracy, civil rights. All these modern ideas were spread among the people because of press. Next, India's past discovery. Already told, because of Theosophical Society, Arya Samaj, Brahma Samaj, they actually found that India's past is not decadent. India's past has a rich history. So Bharatada ಹಲವು ಕಾಲಗಳ ಮುಂಚೆ ಏನ್ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಇತ್ತು ಅದು ಅಧೋಮುಖವಾಗಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಮೃದ್ಧಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ದೇ ಥಾಟ್ ದೇ ಡಿಸ್ಕವರ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಪಾಸ್ಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ವೆರಿ ರಿಚ್. ನಮ್ಮ ಭೂತವು ನಮ್ಮ ಪಾರಂಪರೆಯು ಭೂತಕಾಲವು ಬಹಳ ಸಮೃದ್ಧವಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ದೇ ಡಿಸ್ಕವರ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಓಕೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ one thing, rediscovery of India's past. Next, progressive character of socio-religious reform. Socio-religious reform, I discussed since yesterday. All these socio-religious reforms headed by Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, everything made Indians think India as one country. It instilled nationalism and pride in our past. ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಹಳೆಯ ಕಾಲದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವೇ ಗರ್ವದಿಂದ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಘನತೆಯಿಂದ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರೇರೇಪಿಸ್ತು. ಯಾವುದು? ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಮತ್ತೆ ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಪರಿವರ್ತನಾ ಚಳುವಳಿಗಳು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ರೈಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಿಡಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆನ್ಸಿಯಾ ಬುದ್ಧಿಜೀವಿಗಳು. ಮಿಡಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆನ್ಸಿಯಾ ಬುದ್ಧಿಜೀವಿಗಳು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್, ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್, and also going to England, this started. So they get educated in modern nationalist ideas, because 19th century in Europe there was lot of nationalist churning. Many countries were getting unified. Germany was getting unified, Italy was getting unified. they were influenced by all those things, and they started demanding India's freedom. Next, impact of contemporary movements. Contemporary movements means that same time, some other place, if some movement was happening, that influenced the movement in within India, that influenced the movement in India. So there were nationalist liberation movements in Greece and Italy. Greece and Italy, nationalist liberation movements that influenced India's nationalism. Next, reactionary policies and racial arrogance. So British used to think that they are white people, they are superior. Indians are black, they are inferior. So they thought themselves as something very big, because of which they formulated reactionary policies. Policies which are not good for Indians. Okay, so Lytton was a viceroy. What he did, he reduced the civil services age, getting into civil service age from 21 to 19. Now the age is 32 for IAS, but Lytton reduced it to 19 years for Indians. So he hated Indians. Next, the propagating of, or the enacting of Vernacular Press Act. Where local language newspapers were banned. That was also a reactionary policy. Like this, there were one more controversy, Ilbert Bill controversy during the time of Viceroy Ripon. What is this Ilbert Bill controversy? So under Ilbert Bill, so Indian judges could not try Europeans. Only European judges could try Indians. Andre Indian citizenship ಹೊಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂತ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಗಳು, ನ್ಯಾಯಾಧೀಶರು ಯುರೋಪಿಯನ್ ಯಾರು ಕಳ್ಳತನ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಕ್ರೈಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸಿಗಾಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ವಿಚಾರಣೆ ನಡೆಸೋಗಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಓನ್ಲಿ ಯುರೋಪಿಯನ್ ಜಡ್ಜಸ್ ಕುಡ್ ಟ್ರೈ ದೆಮ್, ಅವರು ವಿಚಾರಣೆನ ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಎ ರೀಸನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ modern nationalism. Next, early manifestation of nationalism, political associations. So what were the political associations? Okay, so we have many political associations in the earlier times. Okay, so first we have the So why did this? Because of Indians getting aware, Indians becoming aware of themselves, aware of their situation. What happens? Political associations against the British gets started. So what were the important demands of these political associations? So to bring about these political associations, many reasons, local newspapers, and also many other things like local culture, like folk dance, folk songs, everything opposed British rule, because of which there was a strong political churning among the Indians. Politically, ರಾಜಕೀಯವಾಗಿ ಅವರು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅನುಭವವನ್ನ ಪಡೆದಿ the Indians started political associations. So what were the demands of these political associations? So they demanded administrative reforms, ಆಡಳಿತದಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ. Next, association of Indians in administration. Next, spread of education. These three things they demanded. Okay, so what are the political associations in Bengal? Political associations in the Bengal region. We have Bangabhasa Prakashika Sabha. It was founded in 1836. by Rajaram Rao Mohan Rai followers. Next, we have that organization is not very important. Next, we have Zamindari Association. This organization is important. It was founded in 1838. Zamindari Association, 1838 it was formed. It is called Landholders Society. Landholders Society. So they were zamindars. So it was organizing political activity. So their political activity was limited to constitutional means. Constitutional means they used to oppose British policies in a legal way. No dharma, though, no dharna, no strike, nothing, no violence. They used to oppose British policies in a constitutional way. Okay. So this was about the Zamindari Association. Next, we have British Bengal British Indians Association or Bengal British Indian Society. Bengal British India Society. It was founded in 1843. It was founded in 1843. So, what is the concern of this association? So the concern of this association is to reform the Indian political scene. Is to reform the Indian political scene. Okay, so they wanted to make the British aware of the actual condition. So actual condition, poor condition of the Indians. They wanted to make the British know about it, so that British will introduce reforms. They hoped of reforms being bestowed by British. Okay, later these two organizations, Landholder Society and British Bengal India Association, Indian Society gets merged into British Indian Association. They become one single organization, BIA, British Indian Association. So what is the agenda of this association? So they wanted establishment of separate legislature, law making body. So they wanted the separate legislative body. Earlier legislation was formulated by government itself, right? They wanted not only legislature and executive separation, but also executive and judicial separation. So basically they demanded separation of powers among all the bodies. So they demanded officers reduction of salary. Officers were given too much salary, that they demanded to be reduced. Okay. So along with this, we have one more organization called East India Association. East India Association is also there. Next, political associations in Bombay. In the Bombay region, what are the political associations? We have Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Pune Sarvajanik Sabha was started by Justice Mahadev Govind Ranade. Justice Mahadev Govind Ranade started this Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. So they also used constitutional methods only. The Pune Sarvajanik Sabha also used constitutional methods to protest against the British. Right? Okay. So what they do, they organize a protest. They voiced their protest against the Vernacular Press Act. When this Vernacular Press Act. So what is this Vernacular Press Act? I will discuss later. Under this act, briefly I will introduce it. So under this act, Indian local language newspapers, more restriction were placed by the government. They had to submit one paper before publishing to the government. Only after the government approved, then only the newspaper had to be published. So if something goes wrong, the publisher could be jailed. So that was the law, Vernacular Press Act. So this Pune Sarvajanik Sabha opposed it. Along with that, we have Bombay Presidency Association was also there. Bombay Presidency Association. Next, we have Madras region. In Madras region, we have Madras Mahajan Sabha. The important organization is Madras Mahajan Sabha. So what these are regional organizations. What are national organizations? Any national organizations? Yes. So we have Indian League. Before Congress, there was an Indian League in 1875, started in 1875 by Sisir Kumar Ghosh. Sisir Kumar Ghosh. He starts Indian League. Next we have Indian Association of Calcutta. Indian Association of Calcutta. So it was started in 1876 by Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose. Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose start your Indian Association of Calcutta or Indian National Association. So they work towards creating strong public opinion. ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ನಾಗರಿಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಒಂದು ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್, ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಒಂದು ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯವನ್ನ ತರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋರಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್. ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದಟ್ they wanted to unify Indians. Indians were divided. They wanted to bring Indians together. Okay, so they protested reduction of age for civil service exam. Your Lytton reduced it from 21 years to 19 years. So this was protested by whom? It was protested by your Indian Association of Calcutta. Okay. So next we have pre-Congress campaigns. So what were the campaigns before Congress came into picture? So we have campaigns against Vernacular Press Act, campaigns against Arms Act, and also campaign against Lytton's Afghan War. During Lytton is one of the viceroys. He did the Afghan adventure. So Lytton's policy is proud reserve. I have discussed it earlier. He goes into Afghanistan and fights the second Anglo-Afghan War. Okay, so that was opposed by Indians, and also Indians supported the Ilbert Bill. So all these things were some of these things were the campaigns before Indian National Congress. Now we have Indian National Congress. So Indian National Congress, when did it form? So it was formed in 1885. 1885 because of so many reasons. Because there was political awareness among the population. Political awareness among the population increased. Okay. Foundation of Indian National Congress. Who founded it? It was founded by A.O. Hume. A.O. Hume. Who is the? So they will ask during formation of Indian National Congress in 1885, who founded it? A.O. Hume. And who was the viceroy during that time? Viceroy name is Dufferin. So these two facts you must know. Okay. So the first session of Indian National Congress was held in Bombay. First session was held in Bombay. Okay, it had 72 representatives, 72 delegates. So every time the Congress, session used to happen, every year Congress session used to happen, there used to be delegates from various parts of India. So the first Congress session happens in 1885 in Bombay, and it had 72 participants. Okay, 1890, Kadambini Ganguly, first woman to attend Congress session. Kadambini Ganguly, 1890, first woman to attend Congress session, and she addresses the session. She makes a speech. So was it a safety valve? What do you mean by safety valve? So safety valve, where is it used? So safety valve is used in your pressure cooker. If the pressure within the cooker increases, so this valve releases the pressure out. It releases the pressure out. Okay. So this is used in your pressure cooker. So what happens? They call the Congress was formed to release the pressure. In India, there was pressure building up against the British. So, in order to release this pressure, British themselves created one organization. British themselves created one organization through which Indians can release their political pressure. Their political grievances could be released, and the opposition to British would be lessened. Okay, so this theory was propagated by whom? This theory was propagated by, safety valve theory was propagated by Lala Rajpat Rai. Propagates it, whereas Marxist people think about conspiracy theory. So British start Indian National Congress as a conspiracy. This was taught by the Marxist people. Okay. So, however, there were other people. Gopal Krishna Gokhale believes that the Indian National Congress is not a safety valve, rather a lightning conductor. Lightning conductor means what? Suppose there is a lightning, thunder comes. So your house is here. So if there is no proper grounding, so what happens? Your house will get burnt. So there will be one conductor will be given over the house. So lightning strikes this conductor and it gets into earthing. So this Congress was used as a lightning conductor, means to conduct. Indian grievances were there, Indian problems were there here, and British were here. So this Congress was used as a conductor between Indian grievances, Indian problems to British. Congress was used as a mediator. So they give Gopal Krishna Gokhale gives a positive view. Okay, aims and objectives. What are the aims and objectives of Congress? First is to create a democratic national movement. Second, politically educate people. And also develop a anti-colonial nationalist ideology. Has to be started. That was also one of the aims and objectives of the Indian National Congress. You can go through the aims and objectives given in your book. Next, era of moderates. Okay, so they were like, they had a soft corner for British. Moderates were not extremist in their ideas. They had soft policy. They depended on constitutional means. Only legally they opposed the British, not by violence. So these were called as moderates, moderate people. So initial time from 1885 till 1905, Indian National Congress was ruled by whom? Moderate leaders. Important moderate leaders: Dadabhai Nauroji, Firoz Shah Mehta, and Surendranath Banerjee. Dadabhai Nauroji, Firoz Shah Mehta, Surendranath Banerjee. Where's the moderates? What is their approach? So some of the leaders have told what is their approach. They, as I told, they believed in constitutional agitation. They believed British are good people. If they don't know the ground reality, that is why they are acting like this. So if our problems are told to them, they will solve it. So they worked on building strong public opinion, and second, pressurize the British government to help India. So first create public opinion, then via this public opinion pressurize the British government to help Indians to solve Indian problems. So this method was called prayer and petition. Prayer, petition, protest. So the policy approach is prayer, petition, protest. First they pray to the British to bring changes. If their prayer doesn't work, they will give petition, write a petition to the government demanding a change. If that also doesn't work, they will hold constitutional protest. Okay. So here Dadabhai Naoroji was the most important leader. So they thought British are good for India. Next, contribution of moderate nationalists. So what are the contribution to moderate nationalists? Economic critique of British imperialism. Economic critique means, so British used to loot Indians. So that was not actually known to Indians. So even though they were looting Indians, Indians themselves did know that British are looting them. So this was criticized. So they provided this moderate nationalists provided a economic critique. They made the Indians know that British are looting them. Okay. So in this direction, they gave a theory called drain theory. So drain theory means Indian wealth, Indian money was draining where? Indian money was draining to Britain. Money from India was draining. Draining means what? Drainage. Water from one place will go to some other place, right? Likewise, Indian money was going to Britain. This theory was called drain theory, given by the moderate nationalist. Important nationalist Dadabhai Naoroji, R.C. Dutt, Dinsa Wacha. So they say earlier India was a rich country. Now you have made us poor because you have destroyed our Gudi Kaigarike, handicrafts and artisans. You have destroyed that. And also they were able to create Indian public opinion against the British rule. So they created opinion. So because Britain is ruling India, India is poor. This opinion was created by moderates among the public. Okay. So what did they demand? They demanded land revenue. Land tax should be, Bhukandaya should be reduced. Salt tax, Uppin mele kandayavana reduce madbeku. Then improving the working conditions of plantation labor. So your tea plantation labor was exploited. Their condition has to be improved. That was one of the demands of the moderate leaders. Next, they demanded constitutional reforms and propaganda in legislature. Here you cannot forget Firoz Shah Mehta and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Both of them were important when it comes to propaganda in legislature. If Gopal Krishna Gokhale used to do a speech, entire assembly used to sit and listen. That is the power of his speech. Okay. So Imperial Legislative Council. So Legislative Council was formed, actually initiated 1854, actual formation 1861. Indian Legislative Council. Okay. So there were very less members. So they demanded, these nationalists demanded, councils should be expanded. That is, there were very less Indians in the councils. The councils similar to your Vidhan Sabha, which has 224 seats in India, in Karnataka, India Parliament, Lok Sabha. So they demanded the seats should be increased and reforms of council. Even though Indian Legislative Council was there, there was no effective power for the Indian Legislative Council. So they demanded Indian Legislative Council should be reformed. They demanded the number of people. If Indian Legislative Council, if it has 100 members, majority of them should be Indians. That was demanded. And also they demanded budget should be controlled by Indians. Okay, here we have Indian Councils Act 1892. I have discussed in polity. I will just give a brief. So what are the provisions? It increased the number of members in legislative council, and also the non-official members were nominated. So the process of nomination was introduced, though it is a starting stage of election. So nomination process was introduced. So in 1882 provision, budget could be discussed. Budget could be discussed. That was also a provision. Okay. So here the constitutional reforms and legislative propaganda was done by these moderate leaders: Dadabhai Nauroji, Firoz Shah Mehta, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, important leaders. So here these councils, British thought that Indians will shout in these councils and become silent. However, Indians did lot of good work so that public get educated. So they used it as a educational tool for the public. Campaign against general administrative reforms. So ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಆಡಳಿತ ನೀತಿಯ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಕ್ಯಾಂಪೈನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಏನು ದಂಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾಂಪೈನ್. ಸೊ they wanted Indianization of government service. Government service, only in majority Indian should be there. That was demanded by moderates. And also the British servants got very high salary. Indians got very low salary. That was opposed. And also they called for judiciary and executive should be separated. Executive ಆಡಳಿತ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನ್ಯಾಯ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ they demanded. Who? Your moderates. So they opposed the bureaucracy, the policy of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy was acting high-handed. They used to oppress people. That was opposed by moderates. Okay. Then they opposed India's aggressive foreign policy. English aggressive foreign policy. For example, 1885 invasion of Burma and also Anglo-Afghan war. These things were opposed by the British. Okay. They also demanded increased expenditure on welfare. Welfare means ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಉದ್ಧಾರಕ್ಕೆ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ಹಣವನ್ನ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ವ್ಯಯ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ they demand. Next, protection of civil rights. So during that time there was no respect for civil rights. Police used to torture the public. So they used to torture the public and there was lot of corruption. Journalists were arrested. For example, Bal Gangadhar Tilak was arrested. So they demanded. And also Nathu brothers, they were journalists. They were deported. Deported means sending from one country to some other bad country. So they were transported for life. Transported for life means they will be sent from one country to some other far country so that they cannot return from there. Okay. So these were the reforms with respect to protection of civil rights. Next, an evaluation of early nationalists. Early nationalists, what did they do? They were the most progressive forces of the society. So they were the most progressive, they were the most educated sections of the society. So they created national awakening. They educated the people. Okay, they trained the political people. They trained the public in political work. Satyagraha and all those things, how to think politically. That was trained for the public. And also they showed the exploitative nature of the British. British were exploiting India economically and politically. That was showed to the public. And now comes role of the masses. So here the shortcoming is not many people participated. In the moderate era. The moderates thought that people are not yet ready. This was thought by the moderates. They did not have faith in the public. Public are not ready to protest the British So they moderates thought like that, and it did not involve the public in the protest against British. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಜನರ ಮೇಲೆ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ? ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ನ ಅಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಶಕ್ತಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರು. ಓಕೆ. So they did not take any militant political position. So they did not take any strong position against government. Their position were soft. They had a soft corner for the government. Okay. So attitude of the government. So government actually from the beginning they opposed the Congress. From the beginning they opposed the Congress. They even though the moderates said that they actually are faithful to the moderates, though they said that they are faithful. Moderates are faithful to British. They own their loyalty to British. They were looked upon with suspicion. They were looked upon with suspicion. Okay. So the British actually condemned the Congress people, saying they are seditious Brahmins, disloyal babus. So all these things were blamed. These people were blamed. Okay. So they tried to divide the Congress into moderates and extremists. So moderate and extremist division was tried to be caused by the British. So what is this division? One policy was used. That policy is policy of carrot and stick. So what is carrot and stick policy? Suppose there is a donkey. So or some animal. You are sitting here. You with a stick. You suspend a carrot here. So this donkey will try to go and eat the carrot. But as forward it goes, the carrot keeps going forward. So it will be perpetually moving forward. If it doesn't move, then this person will have a stick. With that stick, he will beat the donkey. So this policy was called as carrot and stick. So they used to give the moderates some reforms. When the reforms were not accepted, they were used to treat the moderates with stick, or else not the moderates, the extremists. When the extremists opposed the British, they used to treat them with suppression. Moderates were given carrot of what? Political reforms. 1892 Act. The political reforms was given as carrot, and if the extremists opposed, they were treated with stick. They were treated with suppression. Okay. So next we'll talk about era of militant nationalism. Now we spoke about moderate, so soft kind of nationalism. Now we will speak about the hard nature of nationalism. Hard nature means militant. So what do you mean by militant? Aggressive, militant. So but they are different from revolutionaries. Revolutionaries are violent. For example, your Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Chandrasekhar Azad, and all those people were revolutionaries because they fought with guns. And they did violence. They were revolutionaries. However, they are different from militant. Militant means aggressive. So this is actually a higher form of revolutionaries. Are actually a higher form of militant nationals. So highest form. Okay. So here militant nationals, we call them as extremists. Extremist means extreme ideas. Okay. So this era started from 1905 to 1909. What happens during this stage? We have Swadeshi movement. Why did this Swadeshi movement start? Swadeshi movement starts because Bengal was divided into two Bengals, West Bengal and East Bengal. So by Curzon, that is why this starts. Okay, so the moderates actually, why did this militant nationalism start? Because moderates were actually failing. their soft method towards British were failing. Okay, that is why the more militant method, which is actually forceful action against the British, starts. So Lala Rajpat Rai says that moderate and nationalist. So I'm going to to give the difference about moderates and extremists later on. Now we'll talk about some other points. So Lala Rajpat Rai was an extremist. He actually condemned the moderates. So he says that moderate policy, soft policy is not going to help us fight the British. We have to have militant policy, aggressive policy we need to have. Okay. So why militant nationalism grew? Recognition of the true nature of British rule. So British were actually, even after proposing moderate laws, soft policies, they were not paying respect to Indians. So the Indians realized the true nature of British. So what is the true nature? One is economic exploitation. Arthikavagi namanna exploit ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. That was realized. And also Bargalದಲ್ಲಿ 90 lakh people get killed. 90 lakh people get killed. So the British were least bothered. And also the repression under section 124A, sedition, that was opposed. And also arrest of Tilak. So arrest of many people, that was opposed. Because of all these, the Indians realized the true nature, that moderate methods are not going to be useful. We need to be aggressive against the British. Next, growth of confidence and self-respect. Indians, because of leaders like Tilak, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Aurobindo Ghosh, Bipin Chandrapal and Lala Lajpat Rai, they instilled confidence in the Indians. They thought that we Indians, such a large number of people in such a large country, can defeat a handful number of people from such a small country called UK. So that was one reason. Next, growth of education. People realize the importance of freedom. They realize the importance of sovereignty, that is independent rule. They realize the importance of independence. So many people also went to England. They realized the importance of these civil rights, liberty, equality, fraternity, all the rights. They realize the importance. Along with that, international influences. There are many international influences. What influences? In 1905, what happens? Japan, a small Asian country, fights and defeats Russians. Japan 1905 defeats the Russians. So the Indians think that if Japan can defeat Russia, why can't India defeat UK, Britain? So that was thought. Next, Boer Wars. There will be wars called Boer Wars, where in Africa there British actually lose. All these make the Indians think they can defeat the British. Next, reaction to increasing westernization. So increasing westernization, consumption of alcohol, degrading of Indian culture, disrespect to Indian people, all these things made the people react against the westernization. Which are the important people? So we have Swami Vivekananda, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, so Dayanand Saraswati. They made the Indians love their own culture and oppose the Western culture. Next, dissatisfaction. I already told, dissatisfaction with the achievements of moderates. So moderate achievement, actually very less achievement. They relied on three principles. Principle of prayer, petition and protest. This failed. That is why they were dissatisfied. People were dissatisfied with the moderates. Okay. Next, reactionary policies of Curzon. Curzon, Indian Viceroy, what does he do? He actually hates Indians. He used to degrade Indians, talk about Indians in a very bad terms. Bad terms. He used to tell that India is not a nation. India is not a nation. So all these policies, and he introduced certain acts like Indian University Act, Calcutta Corporation Act. In both these acts, he tried to suppress the Indians. Tried to suppress the Indians. Indian University Act, so no political representation in universities. That is in Indian University Act. Calcutta Corporation Act, the number of Indians were reduced in the Calcutta Corporation Assembly. Okay, so these two things, these policies of Curzon were actually opposed. Next, existence of a militant school of thought. There was a militant school of thought, means Indians had a militant thinking by themselves. So who were the people? So the people were Ashwini Kumar Datta, Arbindo Ghosh, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai. They were militant leaders, extreme leaders. They hated foreign rule. They wanted nationalist government. They said direct political action. We want to directly and politically act against the British. That direct action was demanded by the extremist leaders. Okay, next we have emergence of trained leadership. There was proper leadership. Who were the leaders? Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Arbindo Ghosh. So these three leaders, they were a proper leadership for militant thought. So that is why this starts. Era of militant nationalism, Swadeshi and boycott movement. Why Swadeshi movement starts? First, it starts because of partition of Bengal. Bengal gets divided into two Bengals. So why this? The British divide the Bengal. Bengal says that the Bengal was a very big province. British say that Bengal is a very big province. 78 million population, which is 7 crore 80 lakh population. So it is difficult to administer such a big province. So they tried to break it. So, but the actual reason is Bengal was the center of Indian nationalism. Indian opposition to British originated from Bengal. So they wanted to divide the Bengal. This is the actual reason. So why, on what basis they divide? The basis on which they divided was on the basis of language. On the basis of language. So Bengalis became a minority in Bengal itself. So in Bengal, what happened? Since most of the Bengal region went to East Bengal, that is today's Bangladesh, Bengalis become a minority. Hindi speaking people became a majority. So also on the basis of religion, so they divided. Here Hindu majority, here Muslim majority. That was also a basis they divided. So why did Curzon do this? Curzon tried to woo the Muslims. Woo the Muslims means pacify the Muslims. Pacify the Muslims. So Muslims wanted their own province. That is why, to pacify the Muslims or to give baits to the Muslims. So he divided the Bengal into two regions. So here starts the anti-partition campaign under moderates. Moderates start the anti-partition movement. So here the important leaders are Surendranath Banerjee. The methods were same method: prayer, petition and protest. It did not work. So some newspapers were there, moderate newspapers: Hitbadi, Sanjeevani and Bengali. Hitbadi, Sanjeevani, Bengali. So via this they try to exert pressure on the British to cancel the partition. However, the Bengal was partitioned. So Bengal was partitioned. So what happens on 7th August 1905? The date is important. 7th August 1905, the boycott resolution was proclaimed. Boycott of British goods. Boycott of British goods resolution was proclaimed in Calcutta. In Calcutta, and Swadeshi movement starts. So what they do? We boycott Manchester cloth which used to get manufactured in England. That cloth you had to be boycotted. Manchester is a place in England. That cloth had to be boycotted. Manchester cloth. And Liverpool salt. So salt was imported into India from England. That had to be boycotted. Both these things had to be boycotted. So October 16th, 1905, the partition happens. On that day, people sing Vande Mataram and Amar Sonar Bangla. These two songs they sing. Who wrote Amar Sonar Bangla? Written by Rabindranath Tagore. It is the national anthem of Bangladesh. The Amar Sonar Bangla, written by Rabindranath Tagore, is the national anthem of Bangladesh. What the people do that day? People actually bath in the rivers and hold fast, and they tie Rakis. Hindus and Muslims tie Rakis among themselves. So what is the Congress position? Congress position with respect to partition. Gokhale, 1905, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, under leadership of presidentship, every year Congress used to hold some session. So that session was headed by one president. So under Gokhale's presidentship, Congress said, we condemn the partition. We do not support the partition. And also we support the anti-partition Swadeshi movement. So we support the anti-partition Swadeshi movement. So here militant nationalist, extremist nationalist, what they do? They try to take the movement outside India, outside Bengal, into other region, Punjab region, Bengal region, Madras region, Bombay region. They try to take it outside Bengal. So in order to turn this movement into a full-fledged political movement. However, moderates said, no, we should confine ourselves to Bengal. We should confine ourselves to Bengal. Okay. The movement, so here what happens? Because of weak position of moderates, the movement gets transformed into leadership of extremist nationalist. The movement comes under the leadership of extremist nationalists. So why the movement comes? Because moderates had failed. And British had divided the moderates and extremists. Okay. So and also British had resorted to suppressive measures like beating the public, ban on singing Vande Mataram. All these things the British did. What is the extremist program? What program did the extremists do to protest against the partition? So the extremists gave a call for passive resistance, not active resistance, but passive resistance. What to resist? To resist the British. Resist the British. Andre British na tadiyodu. Hege active agi alla, passive. Passive means indirectly, not directly. Passively, we are going to resist the British. What is active resistance means? By violence. Passive resistance means by burning their goods, by not buying their goods. Like it is a different kind of protest. Okay. So they boycott the government schools, colleges, government service, law courts. They boycott all the government facilities, schools, colleges, courts, municipality councils, everything they boycott. Okay. So here what happens? New forms of struggle. They try to, that is the program of the British. They give a call. What call? For example, Aurobindo says political freedom is the life breath of a nation. They try to change this Swadeshi movement into a anti-British nationalist movement full-fledged political movement. So next we have new forms of struggles and impact. What are the new forms of struggle? So one is boycott of foreign goods. What were the goods that were coming from the foreign that were boycotted, that were not bought in India? Next, public meetings and protest. Protest used to be held. People used to come together and protest used to take place. Next, volunteer corps. Volunteer corps or samitis. People used to form small samitis and they used to give directions to the public as to how to act. Okay. So here one samiti is, the name is important, Swadesh Bandhap Samiti of Ashwini Kumar Datta. Swadesh Bandhap Samiti of Ashwini Kumar Datta. Okay. So under this Swadeshi movement, Swadeshi songs were composed, social work were done, schools were organized, and many other social work was done. Another form, popular festivals. Imagine use of popular festivals. Your Ganesha Chaturthi, Ganapati festival and Shivaji festival was used by Bal Gangadhar Tilak to oppose the British. So it is a kind of Swadeshi propaganda, that is laying emphasis on Indian gods. So Ganpati festival and Shivaji festival. Next, emphasis given on Atma Shakti, self-reliance. Today government is running what? Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this as its origin in, so this as a similar origin, similar movement in Swadeshi time. So self-reliance or Atma Shakti was encouraged. That is, we should rely upon our own strength. So social reforms were also carried out, like dowry system was abolished, alcohol consumption reduced. Next, program of Swadeshi or national education. So all your national schools, national colleges, so it started during Swadeshi time. So what happens? National education against the British educational institutions. Indian national schools. There were, so the National Council of Education was set up and a Bengali National College was established. National Council of Education, important. It started in 1906 and Bengal National College was established. Okay, who were the main people? Arbindo Ghosh, who was the principal of Bengal National College. Okay, next. So Bengal National College got established and many other national schools and colleges. Swadeshi and indigenous enterprises. So against the British industry, Indians started Indians' own industry. What industry? We have Indian Swadeshi textile mills, Indian soap and match factories, Indian shipbuilding industry. Chidambaram Pillai started Indian own national shipbuilding industry called as Swadeshi Steam Navigation Company. Swadeshi Steam Navigation Company. Okay. So also melas like in jatres. So these melas used to be organized in against the British. Impact in cultural sphere. Cultural sphere also the form of struggle. Cultural sphere. What happens? Amar Sonar Bangla song was written by Rabindranath Tagore. So that was there in painting. Abanindranath Tagore and Nandalal Bose. Abanindranath Tagore and Nandalal Bose opposed British paintings and started Indian own painting. In science also, J.C. Bose and Prafulla Chandra Ray did lot of research. Swadeshi, called as Swadeshi research. Extent of mass participation. How many people did participate in the Swadeshi movement? Students participated in large numbers. They boycotted the schools. they boycotted the colleges, they boycotted everything and they participated. So they organized picketing. Picketing means what? So here there is a shop selling foreign goods or alcohol. Just in front of the shop, people organize a protest so that nobody goes and buys anything from this shop. Picketing was organized. So picketing was organized by the students. Police actually do lot of lathi charge and they beat up the students. So there was also disciplinary action by the colleges. Colleges used to suspend them, put fine on them. Women also participated. Women also participated for the first time in the national struggle. Stand of Muslims. Muslims only lower class Muslims participated. Majority of the Muslims did not participate because Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka supported partition because Muslims were getting Muslim majority province. They were getting Muslim majority province. They were not supporting the Swadeshi movement. Okay. So next we have labor unrest and trade unions. Here for the first time labor unions and trade unions get formed. Labor unrest and trade unions. So what happens? So in 1905, Bengali clerks, 250 Bengali clerks resign, and in 1906 railway strike happens. Railway strike in the East India railway strike happens. Okay, so in Tamil Nadu, cotton milk strike, strike in the cotton mills. Cotton mills happen in Tamil Nadu. Okay, in Punjab, railway strike happens headed by Lala Lajpat Rai. Okay, so these are the some of the protests, some of the mass participation in this protest. All India aspect did have a all India aspect as compared to 1857 protest. This definitely had a all India aspect. However, let us see what was the all India aspect. So actually it had a all India aspect compared to 1857. 1857 I told it did not have impact on West, Northeast and Southern India and Jammu and Kashmir region. However, this had a all India character, right? Annulment of partition. Partition was cancelled. Why? Because of revolutionary terrorism. Revolutionary terrorism had increased. So British people were getting killed by the Indians, because of which they decide to stop the cancel the partition. So but Muslims get disappointed because partition was cancelled. In order to pacify them, what they do, the capital of British India gets shifted from Calcutta to New Delhi in 1911. Till 1911, Delhi was not the capital of British India. It was Calcutta. So 1911, it gets shifted. Okay. Evaluation of Swadeshi movement. Evaluation of Swadeshi movement. The movement fizzles out. That is, movement gets stopped. Why did it stop? There was severe government repression. Government opposes the movement. Okay. There was no proper organization. There was no organization among the protesters. There was no organization. The movement was left leaderless. The movement was left leaderless because all the leaders were arrested. All the leaders were arrested. Okay, and there was Surat split. Surat split between whom? Between moderates and extremists. Surat split takes place. I will talk about the Surat split. Next, they did not know how to direct the public energy. They did not know how to direct the public energy. However, movement, though had certain drawbacks, was a turning point in Indian history. Why? It actually is a great leap forward. leap forward. Why? Because many sections, students, women, workers, and many urban people participated in the protest. Okay, so even some rural population also participated. There was no such mass participation before. Okay, next. But it had many spheres of protest. There was protest in art. I told Nandalal Bose, Abaninda Tagore in painting, and also singing, and also literature. There was fight in literature, science, Prafulla Chandra Ray. So all those areas were touched upon. So now people were educated, people got educated, politically educated. That is also one of the positive point. So it actually undermined the colonial hegemony. Colonial hegemony means colonial prestige got down because of this. Okay, moderate methods give way to extremist ways. Why? I already told the shortcomings of the moderate method, because their method of protest, prayer, petition protest was outdated. They did not keep in sync with the times. Also, the youth did not like them. So some of the differences between moderates and extremists. So moderates actually were upper class, socially upper class, zamindars, upper middle class people. Extremists, lower middle class people. So moderates were inspired by Western thought, Western education, whereas extremists were inspired by Indian history, Indian culture. So moderates believed British are good, whereas this extremists hated British. So moderates believe that the no mass participation, masses, that is public, should not be involved, whereas the extremists wanted public should be involved. Okay, so the moderates demanded Indians should have some share in the jobs, whereas extremists demanded complete freedom. Okay, so along with this, the youth did not like the moderates methods. The youth wanted action, so they did not like the moderate methods. Okay, moderate method was actually confined to, it was very bookish in nature, no on ground activity, whereas the extremist methods had lot of on ground activity. Now we will talk about the Surat split. Because of the fight between moderates and extremists, Surat, there will be a split among the moderates and extremists. Run up to Surat. When does it happen? It happens in 1907 in Surat session. What happens in 1905? This session, 1905 session was headed by whom? It was headed by Gokhale. So here the extremists wanted, as I said, the Swadeshi movement should be taken outside Bengal. However, also the extremists wanted a strong resolution against the British. However, the moderates did not want the movement to be taken outside Bengal. They were opposed to boycott of councils, schools, all those things. They were opposed. So, however, there was a compromise in 1905 session. Again in 1906, there will be a fight between the moderates and extremists. What happens here? Moderate enthusiasm would have been cooled because of what? Because extremists would have grown popular among the public because of Swadeshi movement. So moderates would be silent. Moderates would have become weaker. Okay. So here Dadabhai Nauroji becomes the what? President, and they define that this Indian National Congress wants Swarajya, that is self-rule, similar to or the self-government, similar to Australia and Canada. Even today it is ruled by the crown. They have own prime ministers, but they own their suzerain. They are not republics. They are ruled by English crown. Okay, so similar to that, they demanded self-government. They demanded self-government. Okay, in the 1906 session. So what happens after this? The extremist gets encouraged because of the self-government call, and they give call for passive resistance and boycott of schools, colleges. They give call for passive resistance by means of boycott of schools, colleges, municipalities, courts, and everything. So the moderate extremists think that the fight against the British should be full-fledged, whereas moderates think that we should not go for a full-fledged fight against the British, because the British are strong. They will fizzle us out. They will bog us down. They will suppress us. So also there was council reforms in the offing. 1909 council reforms are coming. So we should not anger the British. Okay. So both of them stuck to their rule, stuck to their stand. So moderates did not realize that council reforms was a carrot, whereas the extremists did not realize that there was a stick, suppression. If they separated from the moderates, they would be treated with stick. Okay, so split takes place. Why split takes place? 1907 session, the moderate extremists wanted Tilak or Lala Lajpat Rai as their president, and they wanted Swadeshi, boycott, and national education resolution. These three resolutions should be passed in the Congress session. However, moderates wanted the session to be in Surat. Why? In Surat, Tilak cannot become a president. Congress had a rule that if they conduct a session in one particular state, suppose Bombay state, the person from that particular state cannot be the president. He cannot be the president. So they wanted the session to be in Surat so that Tilak cannot be president. So and also they did not want the resolutions of Swadeshi, and all those resolutions should be they did not want it to be re-promulgated. So both of them stick to the stand, and split takes place. Next, government stand. So once the split takes place, so there will be a massive attack on the extremists. So extremists, actually the government repress the extremists, and all of them are jailed. So there will be Seditious Meeting Act, Indian Newspapers Act, many other acts, out of which all of the extremist leaders would be jailed. So in the Tilak would be sent to jail based on an article written by him in his newspaper Kesari. In his Kesari, he has written some article, so he would be jailed and sent to Burma for 6 years. And Aurobindo Ghosh and Bipin Chandra Pal retire from active politics, and Lala Lajpat Rai goes to London abroad for some case. So because of which there is no leader, and government represses the extremists completely. So the government strategy. What is the government strategy? So after the extremists were suppressed, moderates were remaining. But even the moderates, they did not like. Moderates, the government did not like. So what they do? Use the policy of carrot and stick. So they use a policy of three-pronged approach. What is the three-pronged approach? Repression, conciliation, and suppression. First, they repressed the extremists. Extremists were repressed. Next, conciliation. Conciliation means carrot. The carrot was given to what? The moderates by 1909 Morley-Minto reforms. If they did not agree to it, they would be ignored. This was the strategy. Repression, conciliation, and suppression was the strategy used by the British against the moderates. Extremists were suppressed, moderates were ignored. Likewise, the split takes place and government becomes successful. Morley Minto reforms. What are the reforms? So I have already discussed it under Polity 1909 Act, moderate the Morley Minto reforms. Elections were introduced, separate electorate, and many other things. You can go and look into the Polity section. The same act is already discussed. And also, what is the evaluation? So they did not give proper self-government. Colonial self-government was not given to India, and also they tried to divide the Indian Hindus and Muslims by giving separate electorate. So, and also the election which was propagated, election that was given in this act was actually very indirect election, not actually a correct form of election. The election was too indirect, like there was no direct representation. People could not vote for their representatives. So this was the shortcoming of the 1909 Act. Okay, so reforms, you can just look into the polity module. I have already thought about it. It is basically about the separate electorate, increasing the number of council members, and many other things. Okay, so today we'll end the class here. Tomorrow we'll talk about the revolutionary activities. I found thank you for attending the classes. I think you found the classes very useful. Please make good use of it and use it to clear your concepts and revise. And thank you all. Please take good care of your health. Jai Hind. Namaste.